And welcome to Hearts Standard. I was about to say the name of something else there for a second. My name is Joel Sked, and I'm joined by James Kearney as we are going to speak about the Dundee game from the weekend and look ahead to the St Mirren game on Wednesday night in the Scottish Premiership. But of course, before we get into the intricacies of how James is doing and of the Hearts games, I, of course, have a sponsor's message to read out, and it's a perfect time for a word about our sponsors. Viessmann, renowned for their exceptional German engineering, as a leader in the boiler industry worldwide. They've now partnered with Scotland's own award-winning installation team, MPH Boilers, for a collaboration that's a match made in Scotland. When it comes to heating, Viessmann boilers stand out with efficiency and reliability, thanks to their advanced technology, and with the local expertise of MPH Boilers, you're guaranteed top-tier installation and service. Together, they're offering an unbeatable deal, a free internet controller with every Viessmann boiler, making it effortless to control your heating. Plus, they're throwing in the first year service for free, ensuring your peace of mind. If you've been thinking about upgrading your boiler, there's never been a better opportunity than this summer. With Viessmann's world-class engineering and MPH Boilers' award-winning service, your home heating is in the best hands. Viessmann and MPH Boilers, it's a match made in Scotland. Don't wait until it's too cold. Check them out today and step into a warmer, more efficient home. So, James, how are things?
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, I'm enjoying the sunny weather. It's been quite nice over the last few days. Not even sunny, to be honest. It's kind of warm, but also it makes a nice change from the absolute misery of just cold weather and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, been down in the park and all that, so that's been nice. How are you?
Yeah, good. I was just going to say that you obviously had a good night on Friday night because Partick Thistle defeated Airdrieonians. Daniel said that he was at the Partick Thistle game, but for a different team as he's from Airdrie, so 1-0 James.
Yeah, well, nobody's perfect, Joe. Nobody's perfect. And unlucky Daniel, not too bad. But yes, in fact, I should quickly, I know it's a Hearts podcast, so I'll keep it brief, but I'd just quickly like to apologise to anyone who was in Munn's bar after the Thistle game for having to put up with my awful rendition of karaoke. And indeed, I'd like to apologise to the good people of Sweden for absolutely trashing Gimme, Gimme, Gimme by ABBA.
Oh, do you go for an ABBA number?
Oh, yeah, and it was absolutely disgraceful. So, yeah, I'd like to get that out in the public domain.
Is that your go-to?
It's probably the wrong place to be doing it, but there you go.
Is that your go-to at karaoke?
No, I got kind of strong-armed into it, but there we are.
Okay, that's fine. That's interesting that we have a number of ABBA. They're all right. Right, we'll get into talking about the game from the weekend. Let's start with Hibs losing 4-0 at home to Aberdeen, because Hibs are the best rivals. I jest, but it was very, very funny seeing the result come through yesterday from Easter Road, and some of the defending as well. But we will talk about Saturday's game in the capital.
Just on that very quickly, because again, now Hearts podcast here, I talk about Hearts, I get all that. But just quickly, I did notice that a certain Mr. Shankland retweeted the.
Not.
Is that him? Is that actually him?
I'm not sure. I don't believe it is. I don't believe it is.
Okay, never mind. That's another apology then. Sorry, Mr. Shankland as well. I need to stop apologising to people here.
Yeah, but no, it was. My interest was piqued when I saw that, but I don't believe it is his official Twitter account. So I think he's just got Instagram. But if either way, funny. So we will talk about Heart of Midlothian 3, Dundee 0 from the weekend. So James, you rewatched it yesterday. Great piece, analysis piece on the website today, looking at Barrie McKay's performance, Alex Cochrane's role within that, the way the team shifted in and out of possession. Just kind of briefly before we get into talking about McKay in more detail, was that the big thing that you noticed from your rewatch, or did you notice anything from the rewatch that you saw the first time around?
To be honest, it was probably one of those games where I thought, actually, the first time around, you probably did see most of it, most of what was going on. I think that, particularly with the way that Cochrane kind of drifted infield, kind of freeing up space for McKay, that was even more apparent in the second watch, as was the way that kind of Hearts counter-attacked, I suppose, particularly in the second half. But yeah, to be honest, it was one of those games I think where watching it, it's not the most difficult game to kind of figure out what was going on or why everything happened or anything like that. It was just, I think both teams had quite clear and obvious ways of playing. I don't think there was too much kind of under the hood sneaky stuff going on that's quite difficult to discern. I think it's all fairly straightforward, to be honest.
Yeah, because I noticed a couple of times of Alex Cochrane picking up central positions when we were in possession, but it was only until reading your piece to see just actually how much he did it and how effective he was at it. And you based it around the fact that Cochrane was key in getting the best out of Barrie McKay. Because when we did our team lineups on Friday, we're all I think I was one off. You were two off in terms of the actual like the 11 players, but then I think I had McKay as a number 10, Shankland as a number 9, and Vargas and Forrest out wide. That didn't really. It was they kind of all shifted around because Vargas was through the middle, Forrest was on the right, McKay was on the left, and Shankland was effectively playing as a number 10 who was dropping even deeper into midfield. And with McKay, I do feel that left wing is his best position. I sometimes feel that when he does play as a number 10, he can maybe get crowded out, whereas on the left, if you create the space from which Hearts did so well and effectively on Saturday, it allows them to pick up the ball and drift from out to in and have a wee bit more space. And I think from that position, he can see the game better, and he's seen it with some of the passes he played. It was the through ball for the second goal, the clip to the back post for Vargas to score. I think that is his best role, and I think it was really encouraging considering that Naismith came out afterwards and said you won't see the prime Barrie McKay until next season. But for him to contribute, and he said afterwards, he was like, I had to do something between now and then, between now and the end of the season, and he did. He got his first couple of assists.
No, yeah, I thought it was great, and Joe, I think you make a really good point about the fact that when he is on that left-hand side, cutting in onto his right, he can see the whole pitch, and just the way his body shape is, he can play the ball and obviously because of his body shape and his technique, he can basically play the ball anywhere he wants. And when you've got a player who's got that vision that McKay does, that is how you get the best out of him. I know I've certainly in the past floated the idea of number 10, but I think games like Saturdays do kind of underline what you're saying there about the idea that actually, he is pretty best on that left-hand side cutting in, particularly when he's got that room to play in. And I think the part of it as well is that not only is McKay an excellent player and he's capable of doing these things, part of it as well is probably, I think the opposition defenders probably don't like seeing Barrie McKay in lots of space because you don't really know what he's going to do. Like, obviously he's got a fantastic footwork where he can go either way. I mean, we saw what he did for the opening goal with George McGee, where George McGee was sent spinning in a circle trying to find them. And that was a really good running battle throughout the game. Actually, I thought there's a few 1v1 moments with them, and sometimes McGee won them, sometimes McKay won them, but it's that way of just sowing uncertainty. Because you see him as well with the way he dribbles at players. He's not running at full pace, trying to run past him because he's not got that pace. That's not what he's about. He just kind of dawdles forward with the ball right at his feet, and it's like, well, okay, he can go. He can play it with either foot. He can go either way. And that's why you see that opening goal, that wonderful bit of footwork where he chops in, it takes that touch of his right foot as if he's about to come back inside, and that's completely sells McGee, and he just takes another retouch of his left again, and then all of a sudden it all opens up. And you look at that when he does play that cross. Obviously, the cross to Vargas is superb. He puts it in a position where Vargas basically can't miss. I mean, he can also have a go himself, to be honest. Like, it wouldn't be outlandish. And then everything I noticed as well on the rewatch was Shankland standing as well, like a few yards away, with nobody really around them. And again, it's like, just nudge it onto Shankland. Decent chance that ends up in the back of the net as well. So, no, I thought he had a really good game. I thought that, kind of like, to be honest with what, there was a comment here, where was it? Graham was saying that on his days, McKay's our most creative player.
Yep.
Can see a pass nobody else can, and has the ability to play it. Just to show it in the bigger games. And to be honest, I think that's probably it, in a nutshell, and that we all know what McKay is capable of, particularly, okay, yes, like you say, he's still getting back to his full fitness, he's still maybe not quite the finished product yet, and he's got a big summer ahead, of course, in terms of getting back to that level. But we know that, we all remember his first season, how great he was, how creative he was, and again, it's just, I think more than the technical ability, it's the vision, and he was playing those kind of passes where it's just, no other player in the Heart squad at the moment plays those kind of passes. That might change. That might change in the summer. Obviously with Spittle coming in, get Danda coming in, both of the creative players. Maybe that is something they can provide. But right now, there's no one that can do it. Alan Forrest can't do that. Kenneth Vargas can't do that. Oda can't do that. They're all good players. They've all got their value. They've all got their strengths and weaknesses. But in terms of that, just kind of natural number 10. I don't know if I would just say it's a winger, but like he's a playmaker. You know what I mean?
Playmaker,
skill set. I don't think there's anyone else quite like him. And again, I think that's the exciting part for me is the fact that after the game, because if I watch back, he's outstanding player of the match. I thought he was the best player in the park comfortably. And Naismith's then coming out and saying, he's not quite 100% yet though, which is an ominous warning to the rest of the league.
Yeah, so McKay said afterwards, he kind of detailed his piece on the site. You'll be able to read it there, where he talked about his summer plans. He works with a guy. I followed him on Instagram. I can't remember what his name is, but he works with professional footballers, especially during pre-season, and bridges that gap between the season finishing and then getting up to pre-season. McKay wasn't able to do that 12 months ago because he he was recovering from operation. He was recovering from an ankle operation, and then he wasn't able to have a full pre-season. This is the pre-season is going to be, and he mentioned afterwards that he is able to see the passes that maybe other players in the team want. Can't make. And then I was going to bring up a couple of things that a couple of guys mentioned. Liam says, Barrie McKay in a dead rubber performance rendered me shocked. Let's see it in the big games, please, next season. And then Scott Alexander, but apart from the 2 assists, he did nothing else in the game. If Barrie McKay makes 2 assists every game and does nothing else, that's fine. Fine with me if he does his defensive.
I think that's a little harsh from Scott. Like, I don't think he did nothing else in the game. I thought he was, again, really tidy in possession constantly and getting into good areas. And I thought he had a good game. Yeah, and he managed to get 80 minutes under his belt. That's pretty good. Because after the first goal, there was a noticeable drop in the intensity from Hearts. Because at that point it became Dundee pressed a lot higher at that point, and particularly after the second half, and Hearts weren't quite getting forward as regularly with as many numbers, weren't as many chances in the final. There wasn't much play in the final third and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think. It very much, basically, since Hearts took the lead, it very much became a case of, all right, Dundee, it's up to you now. You need the win. We don't really, try and seize the initiative, try and do something about it. And then Hearts just kind of picked them off on the counter was Matic. But so I think all the attacking players in that sense, they probably take a slight dip in the second half compared to the first. But no, I thought Barrie McKay was great. So I'll be honest. I'll disagree with Scott on that one. Sorry, Scott.
In terms of the bigger picture, though, in terms of the big games, turn up in the big games, and I just look at McKay now and just wonder if that's his role within the team, in that he is a guy for the games at home against Dundee, at home against Livingston, away to maybe Ross County. Because you look at the games between his performance in the 4-2 win over Livingston and the 3-0 win over Dundee. Rangers, Kelly away, Celtic away. Didn't start in any 3 of those games. And you do wonder if, again, his fitness likely comes into it, but I just wonder where it's something that Naismith has done for his whole tenure, is that there is players and systems for specific matches, and I just wonder if going forward, McKay in the big games where maybe there's more on structure, more on kind of off the ball areas, that he will be used off the bench.
I don't know if that's true, to be honest. I mean, because thinking about it, he played in Europe a fair bit this season, did he not? He played against PAOK.
So I think he just played the home game against PAOK because he was still coming back from his ankle injury.
Yeah, I don't know. That would suggest to me that Naismith's not got a problem chucking him in the big games. I mean, I don't think, unless maybe it's revised his opinion over the intervening 9 months or whatever, but. No, I mean, I would look at him and I look at someone like Barrie McKay and I go, that's one of the most technical players Hearts have got. Right now he's arguably the most technical player Hearts have got. So yeah, no, I don't think it will be a case where he's just, getting used for mainly domestic games and, letting other, kind of bound out for the bigger games. I think he's got a role to play in all of them. To be honest, it's that way where, he might be really well suited to playing Celtic, for instance, but really not very suited to playing Rangers. You don't just say, oh, he can't play against Celtic or Rangers. So I think that it does come down to a lot about the individual opponents and what they're offering in the system they're playing at the time and who you're up against, like in a kind of 1v1 sense. But no, I think the frustration with Barrie McKay is the fact that there is a really brilliant footballer in there, and it's just having that consistency and getting him to do that on a regular basis. That's always been the issue. So, I mean, I would always argue when you're playing the best teams, you probably want your most talented players on the park.
Yep.
And I can understand why there's reservations around McKay because he doesn't always deliver in those occasions. But and I'm not saying he needs to start all these games or anything like that. But there's definitely that thing of, well, he is one of the most talented players on the books at Hearts, and now it's about the coaching staff making sure that they can get every ounce of that talent out of him, because there's no doubt he's a talented player. And we've seen, and I think that, I would imagine he's got a big role to play next season, both in the domestic games and in Europe and the big ones as well. I think that he's not always going to play a blinder. He might play well, he might not get a game sometimes, but I do think that he's certainly, you want as many good players in the park as possible, and I think he's definitely in that category for Hearts.
Yeah, and no doubt that he will be a key player next season in terms of the number of games we'll play and being that the squad that'll be needed. And Naismith always talks very, very highly of him. Speaking of people Naismith talked highly of, have we chat about James Wilson? Firstly, I'll play Naismith talking about Wilson after the game on Saturday, after he made his league debut, having made his competitive debut against the Spartans earlier on in the season. Wilson is still just 17 years of age.
Probably shows why we put him in the first team environment, more because he comes on and he looks like a first team player there. He doesn't look like a kid that's just trying to get on the pitch. He contributed a lot. He was unfortunate a couple of things for a finish, but his all-round play is really good. And I think going forward, he'll be part of the first team group next season.
Because looking at him, it did, even going back to his debut against Spartans, it did look like he'd physically developed as well. Has that been the case?
Yeah, and that's I think it's really important. And I said before the game, the young players will get opportunity here, but they're not going to just get given opportunity for the sake of it. I think James has had to be patient. He's been frustrated at times. He's not had a chance and he's not been able to get in. But I've lived it as a young player. I understand that if he gets in too early, his confidence could take a drop, which then takes another 4 months for him to get back up to where he was. We need him to have a steady rise, and I think going forward he'll be a big player like Macaulay and Denham have been in the squad this season. He will be next season.
So yeah, it was interesting because I think it was Frankie McAvoy talking to Keisuke Tagawa at half time, and I thought, oh, that suggests that he might come on after 10-15 minutes for Vargas. And then I was a wee bit surprised that it was Wilson who came on, but I think he showed up really positively, and that was really exciting. Listen, to Naismith, it's really exciting the fact that he is going to be, looks like he's going to be part of the squad going forward. So there's this young talented player coming through, and watching him on Saturday, big thing for me was he didn't look out of place, and I mean that physically. He didn't look he didn't look like a 17-year-old. He was putting himself about. He showed good strength, and then the technical side was there as well. Whether it was bringing down a long ball in the middle of the park, whether it was charging forward and being direct and having a good shot at goal, it was just it was a really all-round really good day for Hearts on Saturday, and James Wilson just added to that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's something we talked about on Friday as well, was the fact that, we're talking about, okay, these games, they don't actually mean much all that anymore. So what do we want to see from them? We want to see maybe a bit of tactical experimentation. We want to see, and one of the things we talked about was young players getting a chance. And, obviously, Wilson, he made his debut was against the Spartans in Scottish Cup. And then this was his league debut.
League debut, right?
Yeah. So, I think he did. These are the kind of games you absolutely should be blooding youngsters and giving them a chance, particularly when the game's at 2-0 as well. That's a pretty relatively safe position to put him in, whereas it's 2-0 up in a game where it doesn't really matter. So go out and just enjoy yourself, basically. And he did do that. I mean, he was only in the park for about 2 minutes or something like that when him and, in fact, it was his fellow substitute Toby Civic combined. Civic sent him down, sent him in, good chance. Could have easily gone in. And there's another moment as well, maybe about 20 minutes to go, 15 minutes to go, something like that, when there's a ball in from Cochrane. You can see Wilson absolutely chucking himself at it at the front post, and he just can't quite get there, but he's almost getting it. And so, yeah, like you say, didn't look out of place at all. Without sounding, I don't want to sound mean about Tagawa, because I've got a bit of a soft spot for him, and everyone wants to see him do well. Of course he does. But Wilson didn't look any more, looked every bit as home as Tagawa has at any point. In fact, he probably looked more at home than Tagawa has at points this season. So and that's a professional striker who's been doing it for God knows how many years. So yeah, I think it's really encouraging. I think it's another great step. And again, it's interesting to hear Naismith talking about that he's going to be an important part of the first team next season as well. Because obviously that's the one thing you'd say is Wilson, for all his goals that he's gotten for Hearts B, or for all the praise he gets from the coach staff, he's not actually had that many first team minutes or that much of an opportunity. So hopefully to see him again in the final 2 games. And then it sounds like it's going to be a big summer for him ahead of a really big season next year. So yeah, great to see again. It's just always good to see that conveyor belt between the academy, the B team to the first team, and it's nice to see it just kind of getting going. So yeah, great stuff, lovely stuff.
Yeah, and a couple of things that stood out in terms of Naismith's comments was the fact that he seems Wilson's been frustrated that he's not got maybe more opportunity, but also that
he's competing with Shankland for a place in the team.
Yeah, I know.
That's Hearts' best striker in the century, and he's raging because he can't get a game. Brilliant, yeah, love that.
Yeah, but that's good. It's good to have that attitude, that confidence. So he's clearly a competent individual that. But then you look ahead to next season, if he's going to be a member of the first team squad, then Naismith and the club will want to have space for him to play. That you've got, obviously, as things stand, Shanklin, Boyce, Tagawa, and Wilson. Obviously, there could likely be movement in the summer, and more could come in. But it kind of paints a picture of Naismith not wanting to, like he's talked about, not have a big squad, so it stops the development of these younger players. So I'd be keen to see how that plays out as well. As for Tagawa, we might come on to talk about shortly when we preview the St Mirren game, but just one last thing from the game on Saturday I wanted to talk about that was on our to-do list, and there's a couple of things that guys have mentioned in the comments. Where is it? Ian W. Gents, what are your thoughts on the disclosure from Benny that he already knows who he's playing for next season? Reading between the lines of the interview, it seems positive. Graham mentioned also Benny was excellent, and Graham also asked about do you think from the article yesterday that Benny will stay? So Benny Berengame spoke to Even News after the game on Saturday and said that he knows where he will be playing next season, and he'll be making a comment, or everyone will know very, very soon. So reading his comments, and they were similar, but maybe a wee bit more advanced from the last time he spoke to Benny, where he talked very positively about Hearts next season. He talked about the players coming in, how around the training ground, around the dressing room, they've been talking about Spittle, Dando, and Penrice, and how these guys, everyone recognises the quality they have, and it's exciting. And then he spoke about that again. He talked a lot about next season, and the only thing he added to that was the fact that he said that his decision has been made after a lot of discussions. I felt relatively confident the last time he spoke about him staying, because he kept talking about next season. Having read Even News stuff on Sunday, I feel even more confident that Benny Berengame will be a Hearts player next season.
That's interesting, because when he last spoke a month or two ago, I remember reading that and going like, in fact, I was in the huddle for that. I remember just going like, "Oh, I'm not convinced,"
So he spoke between when you were in the huddle, when you spoke to him, and then when he spoke to Even News on Sunday, he spoke once in between that. And
right.
That's after the game, and that's when he talked about the 3 players potentially coming in. So I do think there's maybe been progression, or maybe been a lot of consideration on Benny's part where he's gone back and forth on this decision. But looking at what he said over the last couple of times he spoke to the press, it's making me think that he's shifted towards staying at Hearts.
I think reading what he said on Saturday, I think it's quite difficult to avoid that conclusion. But again, it's something that me and Scott talked about actually one day when you were, I think it was last week, when we were talking about Shanklin's comments and, is he staying, is he going, all that kind of stuff. And I had to make the point, and this is something you're probably guilty of as well, as professional journalists, we have a tendency to read between the lines, and maybe we should always be reading between the lines. Maybe we read more into things than we should. That's part of the job, because we're always trying to find what's the story here, what's the line, blah blah blah. But looking at it, I mean, particularly when you hear he's talking about Europe next season, how it's going to be great, and it's to be, I don't know, particularly his comments about Europe to me screamed I'm staying.
Yeah.
And to be honest, the only way I can think they wouldn't be staying is if he's playing for another team who are also playing in Europe. In which case, I guess that makes sense. I suppose if he's signed for Celtic or Rangers, oh my God, please don't do that, Benny. But yeah, I guess that fits as well. But yeah, it does look like he's going to be staying. That's my take from what he said. I think he probably will be, and I think that's a big coup for Hearts. To be honest, I think that's we spoke a lot about the fact that you can't let these players who, whether he leaves this summer or maybe he leaves in a year or two down the line, but he's the sort of player where Hearts should be looking for a transfer fee for him. He can't be allowed to just walk out the door for nothing. And so, but I think more importantly is that he also performs a role in the team that nobody else can really do. As we've talked about many times, and he's actually one of the best in the league. And things like his passing under pressure, or whatever ball recoveries he gets, turnovers, and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm a huge Benny fan, and I think particularly next season with a European campaign on the horizon, players like Beningame are worth their weight in gold in Europe because they can actually take care of the ball and keep it. And when you're playing against other good European teams, you need to have somebody in your team doing that. Somebody has to do it. And yes, there's likes of Tate and that coming through, which is great. But imagine, like look at Aberdeen's Conference League draw this season. Say Hearts end up in the Conference League. Say they end up playing the Europa League winners of a couple of years ago. Do you really want to put an 18-year-old in the midfield and saying like, all right, our entire chances of keeping hold of the ball rest on you, wee man. Good luck. Like it's an awfully big ask, is what I'm getting at. So yeah, I having him. I think looking at it, he's probably going to stay, and I think that can only be a good thing as well.
Yeah, and again, he'll be having a full pre-season under his belt as well. As long as he stays fit, I think that'll be massive. Yeah. And my hope is that the more he plays under Naismith, and maybe the more forward thinking he'll be at times, because there was a couple of times on Saturday where we won the ball back so well at times. He's just got this brilliant ability to scoop his leg round the player without actually touching the player to come away with the ball. And then there was a couple of times where I just make the forward pass, make before the pass, and he kind of just slowed it and shifted it inside. That's the next advancement. But everything you said was
that just reminds me, actually, there was one thing, I think it was in the Kilmarnock game. Yeah, because it was one of the games you missed, because otherwise I would have been, texting you immediately about it, but just nudging you in the shoulder. But Beningame played quite a quick forward pass in one game, like a 50-yard forward pass. It was very exciting. The first time I've seen him do it, I was like, oh wow, didn't know he could do it.
How sad we are.
Exactly. That's the kind of thing that excites me, because I'm a very sad man.
So yeah, like Graham says, I think we are a better team with Benny in it than him out of it. I think it's one I've spoken to mates about, and I think a few wouldn't be sad to see the back on. But I think when you see if he was to leave, that's what it'll drop with some fans. Actually, okay, he is a really important and very good player. We'll just finish off by speaking about the St Mirren game on Wednesday night. Hearts go to the Smiths Stadium in search of 70 points. They need 4 points from the last two games that Stephen Naismith wants to target. There's also the possibility of recording the most clean sheets in a league season since the change from the 44 game campaign. I'm going to put something out on the site later on about that. We are 20 points ahead of St Mirren, 22 ahead of Aberdeen, and 24 ahead of Hibs. Just to add that in. Don't really need to dwell too much on the St Mirren game. I mean, it's just another opportunity to kind of kick on and have a strong end to the season. But just quickly, what would you like to see from the St Mirren game?
At the risk of being boring and repeating myself, but yeah, just kind of giving French players and young guys a chance again, But having said that, I think it'll probably be quite similar to Saturday, where I think there will be rotation. I would expect that, but I would imagine that it'll be more a case of, start off a pretty strong team with maybe one or two kind of French players or young guys in it, and then if the game's going well, then start chucking more on as the game progresses. But I mean, I saw in the comments Daniel was saying he wanted to see Tagawa starting, which again, that would.
I think we all want to see that.
I think again, that's maybe a game that probably suits him, because I imagine it'll be quite similar to the last game, where it's going to be quite counter-attacking. But as I think it's a couple of people, yes, I've got the Source Networker and Graham saying in the comments, though, Shankland's, he's a ball here away from getting his 30 goals the season. Oh yeah, so yeah, just some clarification on that as well, because I was confused by this. But so am I right in saying right now he's on 29 goals for Hearts this season, but 30 goals for club and country?
Yes, so the confusion there was
somebody chucked in the Scotland goal. So, that's cheating.
Yeah, I know. When Naismith was asked about it, I think it was worded that he's 30 goals for club and country when he was asked about it after the game.
Right. As long as Shankland's still got a target, you can't drop him against St Mirren. It'd be a remarkable decision to drop him against Rangers as well. So yeah, I think that. I would expect probably a couple of changes. Maybe to see the likes of maybe Denham comes in, maybe Tate comes in, maybe even Sibbott gets a start. I thought he was quite good off the bench the other day. Well, obviously we know that St Mirren are going to be a very physical team. So yeah, I'd imagine a couple of small changes, but nothing major. And if the game's going well, just start chucking kids on.
I am thinking that it could be the reason I'm not sure about this, but I think looking at it potentially a back three, and the only issue with that is let's just say right wing back, right back's been an issue, and it continues to be an issue, and it's one that I think's a priority in the summer to get sorted. And I mean, Naismith talked about players that didn't make the squad on Saturday was just competition for places. But it was interesting where Atkinson, I noticed when I was on holiday that looked at his Instagram story, he apologised for his performance against Celtic. That kind of raised my eyebrow just for the fact that doing it, but then also that I knew he hadn't started, obviously it was away, so I didn't see the game, and then he wasn't in the squad. Lembakisa, out of anyone that's on Saturday, I think struggled the most. I think he kind of just did what he has done largely this season, is kind of positive in terms of trying to get up the pitch, but his passing is erratic. So the right wing back, this is where I think they've tried Denham there. Why not give him a chance out there if they're playing right wing back? I think Kent will come back into the team. I think George Grant. I think Barrie McKay will drop out. And I think George Grant will come into the midfield. And I do think there's a chance there to play both Shankland and Tagawa as a front two in a 3-5-2.
I'd love to see it. I would love to see it.
Everyone would love to see it.
It makes sense for St Mirren away. You remember the last game through there was only last month, and the amount of the way that they just compressed the space and made the entire pitch very small. If you've got someone like Tagawa who can just lump it in behind, let him run after it. So, I would maybe, I don't know. Oh, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to have to think about this. Good thing I've not done my predicted lineup yet, because I'm going to have to sit and think about this for a bit now.
Mine's is already sorted. I'm sold at it. I'm just because I know it's a difficult one with these, because you can't write. We don't write the ones that we want to see. We have to write the ones that we think will happen, that Naismith will go for. But I might just go down that road. But yeah, I think it'll be. While there's wee targets, wee bits to play for both individually, collectively. Again, it'll be interesting on Wednesday night, especially pressure's off, so Hearts can enjoy the final couple of games as well. And it's just about kind of these wee small individual targets. But until Thursday or Friday, that is us. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening, engaging, subscribing, supporting, etc. We hope you have a great weekend. Be sure to check out James's piece on the analysis piece from the weekend's game. There'll be a couple of bits going up to tonight, and then we've got the presser tomorrow with Naismith, and I'm not sure who the player is, but we've got an exclusive chat with Cammy Devlin, who was Heart Standards Player of the Month we're in May, so for April. So we've got a chat with him going on the site tomorrow. But until the next time, thank you very much and have a good week. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.